So I was pondering the state of the world because what is the state of the world? It's not good. And you look at something like AI, and if you've been around, which unfortunately I have, around in what? I don't know, but whew, it's a rough ride, let me tell you. You notice these patterns. AI is following the same pattern just really fast, right? These companies are multi-trillion dollar companies, super quick. Historically, right? And they're not the only companies to like rise up, but to rise up to the heights like this, I don't know. On speculation, I mean, it feels a lot like the big pop in 2000, right after Y2K, for various reasons. How that plays out is a different story, and it's always hard to know because yeah, something's changed. Like AI is different, but it's not that different. There are certain patterns that happen in business as the result of money or having lots of people employed or any number of things. There's still a lot of stuff going on. And AI is trapped in that pattern for sure. But it occurred to me that a lot of people don't understand. So this may seem like a tangent and maybe it's not, we'll say, directly related to AI yet, but it will be. The Red Sox recently just like fired everybody. Like the front office just gone. See you later. Bye. The manager, the coach, bye. See ya. And replaced them all. And I was like, what an odd move. That doesn't happen every day. And now they just tied their franchise record, 15 straight wins. Seems like there was something going on. And I guess people don't know this, but that pattern happens all the time. When I was consulting, I would see that constantly. There would be these fights internal, and there was some collusion, and you didn't know what kind of collusion. You didn't know who was colluding necessarily, but you could kind of tell some kind of collusion going on. Maybe you caught two people colluding, and it's very hard to tell who's right. I mean, maybe the colluders are correct and they're actually, on the correct side. Maybe not, but you kind of have to fire everybody. And the reason why, I mean, there's multiple reasons for firing everybody, basically, or at least, everybody at a certain stratum, like all the middle level managers or something. Um, that reason is because once a pattern gets instantiated in a group, maybe you have to wipe out the whole group. Maybe not. Maybe you just have to wipe out the previous management, right? The people above the group to reset everything. And maybe that reset fixes things. Now, most often the reset does not make things better. But in certain specific cases, and this is where people always get lost, we're stuck in the world of, exceptions being the rule rather than the exception proving the rule, things like that. People are holding up exceptions as absolute proof that things don't work when that's not the case. And then they're failing to hold up the exception when it proves something important, right? Because both conditions are, can happen. They don't happen at the same time, obviously, but they do happen. And so you have this situation where, humans are going to human and people are going to collude. And, maybe the goal of a manager is to have certain people on their team. And so they want certain other projects to fail. And so they interfere with them to fail them so that they can get these people on their team. I've seen that happen lots of times in the computer industry. AI will be suffering from the same sorts of things. Anthropic's got all these lawsuits against them. Well, when you get a company large enough, people are going to sue you, whether they're valid lawsuits or not. And the courts are retarded, so they're just going to go through the process and waste a lot of money and time. And yeah, a lot of times it's cheaper to not be guilty, but to settle out of court because it's the cost of doing business. And real business people know this. They'll talk about it. Like I've seen them. They've mentioned this before, and it sucks that we live in that world that's that way. But it's still just people. And that's the same pattern that happens in families, and it's the same pattern that happens in small companies. It's the same pattern like over and over and over again. It's the same pattern. These AI companies are going to hit the same patterns that all other companies hit when they get large. So it's not going to change. Those same patterns are going to recur because they're created by humans. And humans follow patterns, mimicry, and all that. It'll be interesting to see what manifestations happen as a result. The interesting thing that hasn't happened in the AI industry yet is consolidation. There's always a consolidation phase. Sometimes the consolidation phase happens when things get too big. Sometimes it happens when people get too bored. The AI industry is moving so fast, it's probably not going to be people getting bored. But a lot of times, consolidation happens after a collapse. Somebody comes in and scoops up the assets for cheap and combines them all. Sometimes that's private equity, although that's the worst case scenario. Some private equity firms are great, by the way, but most of them are not. And sometimes it's just the biggest guy or the most ready guy, the guy with the most cash on hand, maybe. It's a good bet. So the M&A hasn't happened yet, or at least the level of M&A, mergers and acquisitions, for those who don't know, hasn't I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the expected amount, but it will come because the industry is way too big. There's too many AI tools. There's too many small players. There's too many mid-tier players. There's too many large players. There's just too many. So at some point, someone's going to drop out or get pushed out or whatever. And unfortunately, you can't predict that based on tech because tech doesn't run anything. The best product almost never wins. Sometimes, if you have the best product and you're the first to market and you're well enough capitalized, you don't have to be the best capitalized, but if you're well enough capitalized, you can survive. But that's rare. Most of the time, it's the guy with the most money. You get the most backing, you're going to win because you can outlast everybody else. And by outlast, I mean, and this is what Microsoft did to the computer industry years ago, right? Like you just start buying people up. They would buy a company that had a product that only ran on Linux or Unix rather, and convert it to run on Windows. All the good engineers would leave, almost always, and the product on Windows would suck, and the Unix support would get dropped. Not because Microsoft wanted to drop the Unix support, but because all the people who knew how to do it left because they didn't want to work for Microsoft. And there's lots of good reasons never to work for Microsoft, believe you me. Besides, most of them got a huge payout. So they didn't have incentives to stay anymore. They could retire and go form their own company or whatever. And that pattern, that's a mergers and acquisition and M&A pattern. That hasn't happened yet in AI either. And, I don't know what's going on. How well funded is Perplexity? They've got a really good idea. They got the right idea. Their initial cut didn't go well for them, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. And I have no idea how much money they're making. A lot of people try to derive the amount of money AI companies are making by looking at consumer, in instances, right? How many customers do they have? You can't tell anything from that. No one makes money on consumer grade stuff. That's extremely rare. High volume, low margin, very hard to make money with. Sure, it's a lot easier to do it with AI companies in general, but still very hard. The most successful companies are like 50-person companies that, just crank it, right? They're behemoths. That's actually Richard Branson's model, right? He's got a bunch of 30-person companies. That's what he does. And then he's got a big holding company. And he just hires the absolute best people that he can find. He writes about this. This isn't a secret. So I don't know when that consolidation is coming. I don't know when these patterns are gonna, hook in. When the human systems are gonna take over. When the management goals and the company goals no longer align. When the rivalry and infighting starts. When somebody decides it's time for consolidation, or if somebody decides to walk away, or what. I don't know. It's very hard to tell with these things, especially from the outside. And the suffering we're going through now is people are trying to determine what's best from the outside. And what appears to be best from the outside is almost never the best thing. I'm just going to tell you right now, almost never. And when it is, it doesn't matter because you're not inside and you can't affect it. So who cares? So yeah, would the world be better off if Microsoft had failed or just not had a monopoly early on that they had with, in an alliance with Intel and IBM? Oh, for sure. No question about it. Microsoft is horrible software and gave everybody horrible software practices, put more software companies out of business than probably the market naturally did, to be honest. It's just a terrible, terrible scourge on society in general, and it is what it is. But watch out, those patterns are coming, and I'm telling you right now, it looks a lot like Y2K. Looks a lot like that collapse. It's coming to me. We'll see.